Is there like a smart way to negotiate when I have a zero walkaway power and they actually know it?
Yeah. Well, this is the hardest question. I get asked this every now and then, actually, on LinkedIn. People send me, by the way, if you're watching this, please do follow me on LinkedIn. I post every day, and send in questions. I like questions. I've been doing an Ask Me Anything thing where I make a video answering people's questions. So, but this one I've been asked quite a lot. What if you have got no power at all? You have to buy whatever it is, or you have to sell it to them, and you've got no power at all. I think the first thing I would say is, don't assume they know. So if you have to buy from them and you can't buy from anyone else, they may not know that. They may think that you can. That, in fact, they may know of other suppliers that you haven't found, because they probably know their industry better than yours, or they may not know that you don't have the option to just do nothing and just not buy it at all. So that's the first thing. Don't assume that they know. But if you absolutely do know that they know, then then that is a problem, because if they got any sense, they will push you right to your limit. I mean, in the end, you've got to either walk away or agree a price, haven't you? And if you can't walk away, you'll have to pay the most you can afford if you're buying, and if you're selling, you'll have to come down to your lowest price to get the deal. There always is a walk away point, at which point the deal's not worth doing. But you may have to get the least good deal. I don't want to say the worst deal, because it's still worth doing for you. So I think, you have to either pay up or walk away, don't you? But I definitely think, don't assume that they know, and definitely don't tell them. Never say to them, I have to do this. Yeah. And you may think, well, no one would ever do that. But the UK did that with our Brexit deal, because our Prime Minister said at the time, we will do any deal rather than leave Europe. They said, a bad deal's better than no deal at all. So, and as soon as you say we will do any deal, we have to do a deal, then the other person's got all the power. So your attitude should always be, well, if the deal's good, I'll do it, but otherwise I'll walk away. And so you have to have walkaway power. You have to say you've got walkaway power, and just put that doubt into the other person's mind that, well, maybe they would be mad enough to walk away. So you've got to pretend you've got walkaway power. And the way to do that, I think, is to tell yourself that you have, even though you haven't. So I kind of tell myself that I don't really want it, even though I do. Like these sort of method actors who get really into the role of the sort of serial killer or whatever it is. So I tell myself, I don't even want this. I don't want this house, really. There's bound to be a better one next week. And to the point where I believe it, because then it makes me behave in a stronger way.
Yes.
Because all they know is how I'm behaving. And they're looking at me and thinking, does he really mean it? Does he mean that he'll walk away? Does he really mean that he won't pay any more than that? And it's the same with customers. If somebody wants me to speak at a conference, I usually want to talk at the conference, but I tell myself, I don't want to go all that way with all that airport hassle and do all that. I don't need the money. And I tell myself I don't really want to do it during the negotiation, because it makes me stronger. So even if I've got no walkaway power at all, I have to tell myself that I do. And then I do all the other behaviors. I have to behave as if I've got strength. So I have to go for quite an extreme opening offer. I move in small amounts. I only reluctantly move, and I trade when I move. So I'll come down in price a little bit if you give me this, and so I do all the things that I would do if I was strong, even though I'm weak. I put this surface of strength on top, and underneath that, I've got my false belief that I'm strong, that I'm telling myself. But in the end, if they know they can get you and they can see through all that, they will push you to your limit. But that's okay, because you can still get the least good deal. And if half the deals you get when you're totally weak, if half the deals you get are the least good, and half of them are actually really quite good because you managed to pretend, then that's a result, isn't it? If half your deals are good, it's a result.
Yeah.
So, I think the answer is tell yourself you're strong when you're not. Pretend you're strong when you're not. but be prepared to be pushed right back to the bottom if you have to. It's still worth doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Such a joy having a conversation with you. We've discussed a number of interesting stuff. And, just before we end, I want to ask you like a couple of questions, if I may. The question is, how does someone hold their ground when the other person is actually trained in negotiation and you are actually not, or at least you feel that you're not?
Well, I've got a quick answer to this. I get asked this every now and then. What if the other person's been trained? And my answer is, well, it's lucky that you were then. Because, imagine if the other person's been trained and you haven't. You have got no chance. You will be slaughtered. So the worst case is that you haven't been trained and they have. Although it's also pretty bad if neither of you have been trained. Because you just have chaos then and emotions. People get angry. People say stupid things. So that's pretty bad. If you've both been trained, it's great, actually, because you'll both follow the process properly and you'll get a good win-win solution. You'll both make offers. You'll both trade. It'll be very civilized, a bit of a joke, because a bit of a game, because you go, that was a good move by you. And they go, yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, or whatever, because you both know what the game is. And sometimes you acknowledge that it is just a game, although sometimes you don't. But it'll be a good process and you'll get a good win-win result. Of course, the ultimate is where you've been trained and they haven't. And that often happens. I mean, most people haven't been trained. So if you do my negotiating course on LinkedIn Learning or Udemy, just saying, for $20 on Udemy, why would you not do a negotiating course when it can save you thousands on houses and cars and your work? But anyway, if you've been trained and they haven't, then it's so easy because you can move them here, you can move them over here. You know what's going on and they don't. So it's like they're blindfolded and you're not. So that's the best of all. But if they've been trained as well, it's fine. It just means that you won't get quite such a good deal, but the process will be very smooth and very civilized and very constructive, and you'll end up with a win-win deal, and it's fine. But you really don't want them to be trained and you not. You don't want to be the one with the blindfold on. So, yeah, I think that would be my answer to that question.
Correct. And what about in case the other person is trained, or that is what you feel, and you are not appropriately trained? How should that person handle that situation?
What should you do if they're trained and you're not? Well, it's too late to get the training course, although straight after the negotiation, you should get on over to Udemy and quickly buy it for $20 for next time. But I think if you're in there and the other person just seems incredibly clever and good, I think just stick to the basic rules. I've got about 10 rules, which we don't have time to do all of them now. But if you just follow those, you'll be 90% of the way there. So, try to avoid opening first. Don't go beyond your walk away point. Walk away. If you've decided there's a maximum you'll pay, don't pay more than that. Don't get carried away. Move in small amounts. That's the biggest mistake I see people make on training courses. So when they're the seller, they quote, like £4,000 or whatever it is. And the buyer says that's too much. And they go, how about 3? And I'm like, no, you've come from 4,000 to 3,000 just like that. And you've given away, a quarter of the money or however much it is. But also you've given away probably all your profit. So people move too much. You should move from 4,000 to 3,950 or something, not to 3,000. So stick to just whatever's happening, however confusing it is, stick to the basic rules of don't open first, open with quite a wide amount, move in small amounts, try to trade if you can, get something back in exchange. So I'll come down to 3,950 if you buy 2 or something like that. Just stick to those rules and you should be fine. Yeah. But the worst that'll happen is you will end up not getting a deal, I suppose. And that's not the end of the world, is it?
And then they can actually go to Udemy and pick up a course by Chris.
Afterwards, should learn for next time. I do find it, I know it sounds like I'm just trying to sell it. But actually, if somebody buys a course from Udemy for $20, I get about 5. And it doesn't make much difference to me. But I just can't bear the thought of people not knowing about something as important as this. It's a bit like managers never having done a management course. I mean, what are you doing? Or salespeople never having done a sales course. You just think, what are you doing? This is your job. And you've never studied it at all. You've never even spent $20 on studying something. You're being paid $20,000 a year, 30, 40, 50, maybe $1,000 a year. And you've not spent $20 just to learn how to do it. And if you're buying or selling, you have to know about negotiating.
Yes.
And as we said earlier on, if you're dealing with people, if you're influencing, persuading, working with people, why would you not learn about negotiating for $20? It just seems madness to not do that. I'm amazed how little people spend on themselves. You know, they'll spend $20 on 3 packets of cigarettes or a night out drinking on beer. They'll spend a lot more than $20, but they won't spend $20 on a training course that will,
yes,
which will make them thousands of pounds in their lives. It's amazing, isn't it? It's bizarre. Why would you not learn stuff?
In fact, that is a common thing, when people are invited to attend a conference, workshop, learn something. A lot of people, struggle with saying that, I don't have the time, I don't have the money. But at the same time, people can actually go and invest money at clubs, at pubs, and there's no judgment there because people have their free choice to do so. But a lot of growth happens, when you're getting better than yourself consistently. And I think over the years, even this conversation,
you can find the money.
While I'm talking with you right now, though I'm having a conversation about negotiation, I'm also listening as a learner and saying, Bob, okay, did you make a mistake there? And while you're talking, I can make a confession that there are certain places where I actually goofed up. And in the conversation, you said certain things, and I said, that's what I did.
Yeah,
I could have done that.
I still make mistakes as well when I'm doing it. Quite often afterwards, I think it went quite well, but there were a couple of things I didn't get quite right, And the tricky thing about negotiating is that the other person is an unknown. They could do anything. And in fact, they're trying to make it hard for you, aren't they? And in fact, I think perhaps the reason people don't do a negotiation is fear that it's going to go horribly wrong. I still think get a course on it because the course is not going to go horribly wrong. But I think, applying negotiate, I think maybe they think if they get a training course on it, they're then going to have to apply it, and then applying it's going to be scary. But it's less scary to apply if you've done a course because you know what's going on then. So, but I do think people have a fear. And I think they have a fear either that the other person will get angry, which they won't if you're nice. If you're polite, you can make outrageous offers and blame it on yourself and say, look, I'm really sorry, but the most I can afford is this. It's all I can afford. The other person's not going to get angry. But I think the other fear that people have is that they might end up losing the deal. So, maybe they want to buy a house, but they're worried that if they negotiate, they'll end up not getting the house. And I think, that's a fear that people have. But actually, it's completely unfounded. It is completely unfounded because you can always crumble. So suppose the house is, I don't know, 300,000, say, just to make up a number. If you say, I can only afford 280, and they go, nope, that's it. Well, we want 300 or nothing, you can always go, oh, all right, I'll pay the 300. Or you could say, well, I'll just make a quick phone call to my bank or my mum or whoever, or my get permission from my wife or something, and then you can come back and say, okay, I'm going to do the 300. I'm crazy, but I'm going to do it. So, and they're never going to go, no, you've insulted me. I'm not going to sell it to you now. So you can always crumble if you have to. You've got nothing to lose by trying it. And I think that's really important. And suppose you said 280 and they said, right, I'm going. And they start to walk out of the room, which is pretty unlikely. You can reel them back in and you can say, well, hang on a minute, before you go, let's just think about this. Because maybe there was a way, maybe if you could do this or whatever, I could pay 290 or let me just at least think. So they're never going to walk away, and you don't have to walk away unless you want to. So providing you're prepared to crumble, you will never lose the deal. And that's really important for people to understand. Never have the fear that you will lose the deal. Because if you're nice and you're prepared to crumble, you will get the deal. It just might not be a great one every time. But you won't lose the deal. Don't have to worry about that.
Just one last question before we end. Uh, when you're negotiating, there are times when the other party sometime can ghost you. So there is this pin drop silence that happens. So sometime the negotiation, a lot of negotiation nowadays does not happen across the table. A lot of negotiation happens on the phone actually, over an email,
Yes.
over WhatsApp. In fact,
Email.
even on WhatsApp nowadays. So
Yes.
when there is a ghosting and there is complete silence from the end where they say they'll come back to you, you share a price. How do you think one should handle that part of negotiation?
Well, first of all, you shouldn't really negotiate over email or WhatsApp. Although I say that, but I do. I quite often quote people prices by email. But you shouldn't, because you want to see their reaction when you quote the price. You want to see if they go, oh, that's a bit expensive, in which case it probably isn't too expensive. Or if they go, oh, in which case it probably is too expensive. So you want to see their body language. And with email or WhatsApp, there's no body language. So ideally, you wouldn't do it by email. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing is that this happens to me sometimes. I quote a price and then I just never get a reply. And what that means is that they've got a cheaper price from someone else, probably. And they're just going to take that. And so basically they have decided not to negotiate, which is really stupid of them. Because if they only came back to me and said, thanks for that quote, but it's too much, will you come down a bit? I probably would. So they could have got me for a cheaper price, but because they were too frightened to ask or didn't realize or something, they've gone away and bought something not very good from somebody else. And so I think sometimes when people ghost you, they've decided not to negotiate. And that's a real shame. So then what do you do? And the answer is, I think, follow them up, either by email or WhatsApp, or phone them. Yes, and I usually say, I never got a reply. Maybe it was eaten by the spam filters. I mean, you just never know. And I just wanted to check that you got my quote, because it would be awful if you thought I hadn't sent it. That's what I say. And they go, yeah, we got it and we're thinking about it. Or they're not normally brave enough to say we got it and it's too much. But they say, well, we've got it and we're thinking about it. And then now we can open a negotiation and I can say to them, so, what did you think of it? Was there anything about it that worried you? And they may say, well, it's a bit more than we were planning to spend. And I'd say, well, what were you planning? Or how about if we did a shorter session? Or how about if you booked 2 sessions or something like, would that work? Or we could do part online and I could send you some videos. That would make it cheaper. And we could start to look at tradables. And they might go, oh, well, yeah, if you could do that, that'd be great. So I think the thing is to contact them and offer to negotiate in some way. Now, you don't want to look weak. But you do want to just say, maybe there's a way we can do this. So remember that if you just come down in price, that's weak. But if you trade, it's not. So if you say, if price is a problem, there might be ways we could do it. If you wanted to do part of it online, for example, then I could give you a cheaper price. And they may well say, oh, well, that would suit us as well. So offering some trades, which you can prepare before you make the call. You can find some sort of deal that works for both of you where you don't look weak. You don't want to just ring up and say, I'll tell you what, is it too expensive? I could do it for less if you like. Because then that's quite sort of needy and weak, isn't it? I mean, you could do that as a last resort. But if they're any good, they'll just push you right down because they'll smell the weakness. So you need to be trading and looking for a win-win. I guess the only way that this would all go wrong is if you quoted a price over WhatsApp, they never replied, and you ring them and they just never answer. In which case, they've probably already gone to somebody else, or they're frightened of talking to you, and in which case that one's gone. And I think that's going to happen sometimes. Some people can't afford you. And if we take you as an example, Bobby, I actually don't know what you charge for a session. I think it's probably quite a lot because you are at the top of your game and at the top of the pile, really. I think for what you do, you're brilliant at it. And you're probably quite expensive. And that's fine because some people can't afford you. They just don't have the budget, or they can't see the value. They don't realize what an amazing event they could have. And so some people will just go, oh, I'm not paying that. But that's fine. Because if you had a price that everybody would pay, that would mean you were leaving money on the table, because a lot of those people would have paid more for you. So, you don't want to quote a price so low that everybody will pay it. You want to pay a price that half the people won't pay. And so it's perfectly okay that we lose some customers. So some will pay it, some will negotiate, and some will just walk away. But those ones, maybe we didn't want them anyway. And we know, we've talked about this before, we know that the people who are obsessed with price are not the customers you want. Because you want customers who are interested in quality and who want you for a particular reason. They're not just shopping around for the cheapest motivational speaker they can get. I mean, you don't want them as a customer. So I think the people who ghost you and then don't answer the phone when you ring them are people you don't want anyway. So that's my answer.
Powerful, powerful. Wonderful, wonderful. It was
You've got to think strong though, haven't you?
Great lessons.
You've got to think strong. You always must think strong.
Yeah,
that's the key to this. Okay.
Yeah, and there are certain deals are not good for you. It's okay to leave some deals for sure. I think from one of the things is, not all deals are for you. Therefore, different trees are planted at different places of the world, right? You cannot eat the apple from every tree. Certain fruits are there for some other people, not for you, and that's abundance, right? In a way, so that's okay.
Yeah, and that's your walk away point, isn't it? Because, you might, let's suppose somebody wanted you to do a talk for $50. It might only, which would be ridiculously low. But it only probably costs you $10 to go on the train to do the talk. You'd still make it a profit of 40. But the point is, you could have been doing a talk somewhere else on that day for perhaps thousands.
Yes.
And so therefore, you wouldn't do it. So even though it looks like it's a profitable deal, I've exaggerated the numbers, but even though it looks like a profitable deal, the what's it called? The opportunity cost is much more than the train price of $10. The opportunity cost is thousands, because you could have been doing a talk somewhere else, or you could have been inventing a new talk, or doing a bit of marketing, or recording a podcast like this, which has a value. So therefore you have a walk away point, which might be quite high. I mean, if you're busy, or if you don't want to do that much work, your walk away point might be really quite high, and therefore you might walk away from negotiations saying, well, we haven't got a deal, and that's fine. So there isn't time in life to eat every fruit off every tree, and that's fine. So your walk away point could be reasonably high, and never feel bad when you walk away, because it makes you stronger for next time when you negotiate. Because when you negotiate with the next person, they can tell that you are prepared to walk away. You will, because you did last time, and then they can tell, they can feel it. So you then have that strength from walking away. So set your walk away point and stick to it. Absolutely.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Chris. Our time is up. I appreciate all the valuable information that you have shared with me, with all the audiences. In case people want to reach you, how do they connect with you? Anything that you want to say at the end? Yeah,
I've got a website, chriscroft.com, and I'm on YouTube. You can put Chris Croft in there. I've got about 400 videos on YouTube you can look at for free. But I think the best place, probably better than all of those, is just LinkedIn. Actually, just go to LinkedIn and follow me. You can't connect because I've run out of connections. There's a limit to how many you can have, but you can follow me. And I post every day on LinkedIn useful stuff, sometimes negotiating, sometimes time management or happiness. But yeah, come into my world, and on LinkedIn you can ask me questions. I always reply. So yeah, just put Chris Croft into LinkedIn and there I will be. And I would really like that. I like it.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for your valuable time. You take care.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Bobby. Bye for now. Bye.